Hey everyone, today is day 7 of my Christmas Advent calendar, and I'm back with another story. Today I messed up by stuffing my face with edibles before dinner with my wife's parents. This sounds like we are ahead of a wild ride. Let's get into it. Recently, I traveled to Denver, Colorado with my wife and my wife's parents. As a resident of a non-legalized state, and as someone who is too much of a scaredy cat to regularly buy illegal drugs, the thing I was looking forward the most was the chance to buy some fancy plant. What could possibly go wrong? I guess we're gonna figure that part out very soon. So the first thing I do upon arriving, and after successfully ditching the in-laws, is drag my wife to a nearby dispensary for a shopping spree. And oh my god, it was just like in my dreams. Tons of different options in neat of little sample jars, and a team of helpful stoners walking me through the various strains. Are you looking for a mellow body high? Or do you want something that gives you a bit more pep and energy? Or are you just hoping for something light to take the stress off? Yes, and yes! I reply eagerly like a fat kid in a candy store and request an 8 ounce of 7 different options. In hindsight, if I learned anything from this experience, is that my math and science teachers never taught me basic information like what is an ounce or how much plant can a person consume in a single weekend. That's not something your teacher should teach you, but go on, bestie. Sure, I can tell you when 2 speeding trains leaving separate stations will collide or recite Avogadro's number, but it turns out that none of the information is particularly relevant to getting high in a responsible and efficient manner. As I said, not something that your teacher's gonna teach you. And it was this dispensary that I also learned that you can't actually smoke in public places, including the hotel that my wife and I were staying at. As a result, before leaving, I begged my wife to buy me some edibles that I could munch on until we find a place to properly get lit. Sir, what do you mean munch on until? After expressing shock as the absurd volume of drugs that we were buying, unlike me, she is the product of private school and understands the incremental measurement system. She relents and we walk out of the store with what felt like a dump truck of stuff, plus a small package of seemingly innocuous ginger snap cookies. When we finally get back to the hotel room, I tear those bad boys open, only to find about a dozen tiny cookies, roughly the size of a quarter. What the frick, Denver? Seeing the skepticism and hunger in my eyes, my wife warns me that I should go easy and look at the back of the package first before trying one. Those size half cookie. I read silently as I start taking micro bites from the edges, like a giant chinchilla gnawing on a sunflower seed. But what kind of savage only eats half a cookie? The one who believes what the package says? So a second later, I covertly pop the remainder into my mouth. And then I quickly stuff another 2 cookies in my mouth for good measure the moment my wife turns her back. We may not have legal plant back home, but I routinely devour an entire package of Milanos in one sitting without breaking a sweat. I'm sure you will break a lot of sweat a little later. Your move, tiny ginger snaps. Somebody is very smug right now. I'm very curious how this will turn out. About 30 minutes later, we are in the backseat of her parents' rental car on the way to dinner. And that's when things start to go tits up. My stomach growls loudly and angrily. My wife looks at me with inquisitive eyes that seems to say diarrhea, but I merely clutch my tummy and mumble something about altitude sickness. You didn't eat a whole cookie, did you? She asks, 10% in genuine concern and 90% in seething irritation. Of course not. I respond, avoiding eye contact for the remainder of the car ride. Yeah, of course not. You ate 3. A few minutes later, we are climbing out of her parents' rental car and heading into some trendy farm-to-table restaurant. I don't remember how I made it to my seat. And I don't remember even looking at the menu, but I do remember the concerned look on the waiter's face as he asked me if I was doing alright. Keep it together, man, I say to myself. But my wife's sudden groans suggest that I may have also said that to the waiter. Things are going downhill fast. Yeah, I think that's all what we expected. The waiter nods sympathetically, takes our order, and then heads to the next table. The moment he walks away, my wife is staring daggers at me. I start to worry that the jig is up. It is up, bestie. It was up for a while now. Your wife just have no idea how bad the damage is. Yet. You are sweating from your entire face, she says with both pity and disgust. Not quite knowing what to do, I reach for my napkin and proceed to blot my cheeks, nose, neck, chin, and forehead. At this point, my wife's mom looks over at me with some concern. Are you alright? She asks kindly. Yeah, the food is just a bit spicy. What is spicy? You just ordered. I reply far too quick to realize that we had literally just ordered and that there is nothing on the table except for a basket of dinner rolls. My wife kicks me under the table to grab my attention. Bathroom, now, she hisses. Get it together. I reluctantly get up from the table and head for the toilet. After splashing several handfuls of water on my face, I approach a urinal and start to pee. Now, one of the more disconcerting effects of those tiny ginger snap monsters is the feeling that time has become untethered from reality. As I'm peeing, I start to get the very unsettling feeling that I have been taking a piss for the better part of an hour and that my wife must be pacing around the restaurant worried about me. The thing that you're going through sounds terrible. I have zero experience with stuff like this, but it still come off for us as a funny story. And I think at the end of the day, this is a funny story for you too. But deep down, I know that is absurd. I've been peeing all my life, sometimes multiple times a day. Yeah, I've been doing that as well. Multiple times, sometimes a day. I've probably taken more than 50,000 leaks and it usually only takes about a minute at most. So given that typical pee is no more than 60 seconds, and given that it feels like I'm about halfway done, that means that I probably only been standing here about 30 seconds, right? I would say yes, probably. Let's find out. But the guy at the urinal next to me doesn't respond and instead starts shuffling away from me midstream like a startled penguin. I try, albeit unsuccessfully, to break eye contact. After finally finishing, I again splash some water on my face and return to my seat, making sure to apologize to the table for being gone such a long time just in case my mat was off. Next, I try briefly to engage in small talk with my wife's father, but I am far too high to understand what either of us are saying. Not wanting to start laughing uncontrollably at the wrong moment, or really at any moment, I figure the safest idea is to nod my head periodically and drink a ton of water. Nothing cures mental fatigue like water, right? To my wife's horror, I stand up, grab my water glass, and thrust it out to the waiter, who unfortunately is on the opposite side of the restaurant. But he turns out to be really cool and after making his way over to our table, tells me that he'll do his best to keep me stocked with ice water for the rest of the meal. He also helpfully suggests that if the dinner rolls aren't too spicy for me, I should probably eat one or two so that I'm not sitting there on an empty stomach. Smart man. However, after going through all of the bread on the table and 3 glasses of water, I started to get worried that I need actual food to offset the growing paranoia from those tiny ginger snap devils. Do you think I should flag down the waiter again and ask what's taking so long? I suggest helpfully to my wife. What? We literally ordered 3 freaking minutes ago. And at that exchange, my wife loses her cool. How many cookies did you eat? She demands. Whoa, easy there, Torquemada. I respond somewhat horrified at her outburst. I had a few cookies, but keep it down. I don't want your parents to know how freaked up I am right now. Really? They are sitting 2 feet away from you. They know. I look up and for the first time notice both of my in-laws just staring at me. For what literally felt like an eternity. Well, this story was completely hilarious. OP, you should have been a little bit patient and wait to try those cookies at least after the dinner, because then you would have been safe in the hotel room. But what can we do? It's already happened. Let's see what Reddit thinks. The visual of OP standing up to have water poured into his glass from a waiter across the restaurant got me. And so did him linking his sweaty face to the spiciness of the bread. Phenomenal read from start to finish. For sure, I am a very visual person, so while I read it, this thing went in my brain like a movie. The part was most hilarious and terrifying at the same time to me, the scene when he was in the bathroom and the point of view of the stranger he was peeing next to. This is my favorite Today I Messed Up ever. Thank you, ridiculous man. Wow, this was the best written story I have ever read on here. I was laughing all the way through it. Well done, OP. Hope your wife's parents are cool about it. I mean, it was completely hilarious. The past couple of days I had some heavy topics, so this title was intriguing. I really wanted to bring in a funny story. And I really think this didn't disappoint. Well, OP has a very small update, and we're gonna read that. Edit. Wow, thanks everyone for all the love and for even some of the hate. I think I have officially peaked in life. As for part 2 of the story, there's a reason, or technically 3 delicious reasons why it was cut short. At that point, my wife's singular focus was on getting me out of the restaurant before I either puked all over the table or pissed myself, or an unsightly combination of both. So after a few spastic two-handed waves goodbye to my in-laws, she rushed me out of the door like a Secret Service agent evacuating the president. My night after that was a whirlwind of barfing and growling, mixed with a few vain attempts of getting handsy back in the hotel room. But being the absolute awesome sweetie that she is, my wife stuck with me through the whole nightmare, whispering over and over in my ear, "Please don't die, we have a mortgage." Ah, your wife is also absolutely hilarious. OP, I'm really glad you are okay. I hope you learned from this experience. And if you would want to attempt again, you will listen what the package dose says. Thank you for being here with me for today's story. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe and see you tomorrow.